They had joked about it at first. It started as one of those late-night dares that feel harmless when you're surrounded by friends and cheap takeaway boxes, the kind where the idea sounds thrilling instead of dangerous. The abandoned hospital on the outskirts of town had always been there, silent, looming, forgotten. People said it had been shut down years ago after an incident, though no one ever agreed on what that incident actually was. Ali had been the first to suggest it. He leaned back in his chair, smirking, scrolling through blurry photos of the place on his phone. "Let's go there this weekend," he said. "Just imagine it. Empty corridors, broken beds, creepy vibes. Perfect. Perfect for what? Getting arrested?" Sana shot back, though there was curiosity in her voice. "Or worse," Hamza added, raising an eyebrow. "Ghosts." Everyone laughed. Everyone except Adil. Adil had heard things. Not the usual ghost stories people passed around for fun, but whispers, people who claimed they had seen lights inside the building at night, even though there was no electricity. Someone had said they heard voices, like patients talking, calling for help. Still, he didn't want to be the one who said no. So when Saturday night came, the five of them found themselves standing in front of the hospital gates. The building was larger than they had imagined. Even in the dark, its outline dominated the horizon, its windows like hollow eyes staring back at them. The iron gate hung half open, rusted and crooked, as if it had given up trying to keep anything out, or in. Sana pulled her jacket tighter around herself. "This place already feels wrong." Ali grinned. "That's the point." Hamza pushed the gate further open with a loud creak that echoed unnaturally far. "Ladies first," he said, gesturing dramatically. "No chance," Sana said, stepping back. Adil took a deep breath and stepped forward instead. "Let's just go in and out quickly," he said. "Take a few pictures and leave." No one argued. The moment they crossed the threshold, the air changed. It wasn't just colder, it felt heavier, like stepping into a place where time had stopped moving properly. The smell hit them next. A mix of dust, rust, and something faintly sour, like old medicine. Inside, the reception area was frozen in decay. Broken chairs lay scattered, the front desk was covered in a thick layer of dust, and papers were strewn across the floor like someone had left in a hurry. Ali flicked on his flashlight. "Wow," he whispered. "This is insane." Hamza started recording on his phone. "Urban Exploration, Episode 1, he said quietly. "We're inside the infamous abandoned hospital." "Keep your voice down," Sana interrupted. "Why?" he asked. "There's no one here." That was the assumption they all clung to. They moved deeper into the building, their footsteps echoing against the cracked tiles. Doors lined the corridor on both sides, some hanging open, others shut tight. Adil noticed something strange almost immediately. The floor wasn't as dusty as it should have been. There were marks, faint, but visible, like something or someone had moved through here recently. "Do you see this?" he said, pointing. Ali shrugged. "Probably animals. Or other people like us." But Adil wasn't convinced. They entered the first room on the left. It looked like a patient ward. Rusted bed frames stood in rows, some mattresses still in place, torn and stained. Sana shivered. "I hate this." Hamza moved his flashlight across the room. "Imagine how many people died here." "Not funny," she said. "I'm not joking." For a moment, they all fell silent. Then, faintly, they heard it. A sound. A low murmur. A voice. Everyone froze. "Did you hear that?" Sana whispered. Ali frowned. "Probably whined." "No," Adil said. "That wasn't wind." The sound came again. Soft, distant, like someone speaking from another room. "Hello," Hamza called out. No answer. The group exchanged uneasy glances. Ali forced a laugh. "Okay. That's weird. Let's just check it out," Hamza said, though his voice had lost some of its confidence. They stepped back into the corridor. The sound seemed to be coming from further down, near a section where the lights above flickered faintly, even though there was no electricity. Sana grabbed Adil's arm. "Why are the lights flickering?" No one had an answer. They moved slowly toward the source of the sound. The murmuring grew clearer. It wasn't just one voice. It was many. Whispers overlapping, like a room full of people talking quietly. Adil's heart pounded in his chest. "There shouldn't be anyone here," he said. Ali didn't respond, because he knew it too. They reached the end of the corridor. One door stood slightly ajar, a faint light spilling out from inside. The whispers were coming from there. Hamza swallowed. "Okay. This is not normal. Let's go," Sana said immediately. "We've seen enough." But Ali stepped forward. "Wait," he said. What if it's just, I don't know, squatters or something? Squatters don't whisper like that, Adil replied. Ali hesitated. Then, slowly, he pushed the door open. The room inside looked alive. That was the only way to describe it. Beds were arranged neatly, unlike the other rooms. The sheets were clean. Machines stood beside them, their screens glowing faintly. And on those beds, patients. Dozens of them, some lying still, some sitting up, some turning their heads slowly toward the doorway. The whispers stopped. Every single pair of eyes locked onto them. Sana gasped. This isn't possible, Hamza whispered. A nurse stood near the far end of the room, her back turned to them. She was writing something on a clipboard. Ali's voice trembled. Excuse me. The nurse stopped. Very slowly, she turned around. Her face was pale. Too pale. Her eyes were sunken, dark circles beneath them. And when she smiled, it wasn't right. You're not supposed to be here, she said softly. Her voice sounded wrong. Like it was echoing from somewhere deeper. Adil took a step back. We're leaving. Yes, Sana said quickly. We're sorry. Wait, the nurse said. The words seemed to freeze them in place. You came to visit, she continued. You shouldn't leave so soon. Ali shook his head. We didn't. We thought this place was abandoned. It is, the nurse said. Silence filled the room. Hamza's grip tightened on his phone. What do you mean? The nurse tilted her head. These patients, she said, gesturing around the room, they've been here for a very long time. One of the patients sat up slowly. A man. His face was gaunt, his skin stretched tightly over his bones. We never left, he said. Sana let out a small scream. Adil grabbed her hand. Run. But when they turned toward the door, it was gone. The wall behind them was solid. No, Ali said, panic rising in his voice. No, this isn't real. The lights flickered violently. The whispers returned, louder now. All the patients began to move. Some stood. Some dragged themselves off their beds. Their eyes never left the group. You came here, the nurse said gently, stepping closer. Now you belong here too. Hamza backed away. Stay away from us. You wanted to see, she said. Now you will. Adil looked around desperately. There had to be a way out. There had to be. Then he saw it. A door. On the far side of the room. It hadn't been there before. Over there. He shouted. They ran. The patients reached for them, their cold hands brushing against their arms, their clothes. Sana screamed. Ali shoved one of them aside. Hamza nearly tripped over a bed. Adil pushed the door open. They burst through, and found themselves back in the corridor. Dark. Silent. Empty. The door behind them slammed shut. They didn't stop running. They ran all the way out of the hospital, through the broken gate, into the open air. Only when they reached the road did they stop. Panting. Shaking. No one spoke for a long time. Finally, Hamza looked back. The hospital stood exactly as it had before. Dark. Lifeless. Empty. No one's going to believe this, he said. Ali nodded slowly. Sana wiped tears from her face. We're never coming back. Adil didn't respond, because he was staring at his hand. At the faint mark on his wrist. Finger-shaped. Like something had grabbed him. And as he looked closer, he realized it was getting darker. Like a bruise. Or something spreading. That night, none of them slept. And in the days that followed, things began to change. It started small. Adil began hearing whispers when he was alone. Soft voices, calling his name. Sana said she felt like someone was watching her, even in her own room. Hamza's phone, his recording from that night, was corrupted. But sometimes, when he played it, he could hear faint breathing behind his own voice. Ali tried to act normal. But even he couldn't ignore the dreams. The hospital. The patients. The nurse. Always the nurse. Standing at the end of the bed. Smiling. Waiting. A week later, Adil disappeared. No one knew where he had gone. No one except the others. Because that same night, all three of them had the same dream. They were back in the hospital. Standing in that room. The patients were there. Watching. And Adil was lying on one of the beds. His eyes open. His mouth moving slightly. Whispering. Don't leave me here. They woke up at the exact same time. Drenched in sweat. Terrified. And somewhere, far away, in the abandoned hospital that no one visited anymore, a light flickered on in one of the rooms. And inside, among the patients who had never left, there was space for three more. They didn't talk about the dream at first. Not because they didn't want to, but because each of them was waiting for the others to deny it. To laugh it off. to say it was just coincidence. But when Hamza finally called the next morning, his voice shaking, the truth settled between them like something heavy and unavoidable. You saw it too, didn't you? There was a long silence. Then Sana whispered, Adil, on the bed. Ali closed his eyes when he heard that. And the nurse, he added quietly. She was there. No one said anything after that. Because they all knew. This wasn't over. By evening, they were sitting together again, this time not laughing, not daring each other, but trying to understand what was happening to them. Adil was missing. His family had reported it. The police had started asking questions. And none of them had the courage to tell the truth. What if he's still alive? Sana said, her voice trembling. What if he's trapped there? Hamza shook his head immediately. You saw him. That wasn't normal. But he was talking, she insisted. He said, don't leave me here. That means he's still, or something wants us to think that, Ali interrupted. Sana looked at him. What does that even mean? Ali hesitated. Then he said it. What if the hospital isn't just haunted? What if it pulls people in? The room went quiet again. Hamza let out a dry laugh. Great. So now it's not just ghosts, it's a trap. Ali didn't smile. Think about it. That door wasn't there before. It appeared when we needed an escape. What if it wasn't helping us? He trailed off. What if it was letting us go, for now? Sana finished. No one argued. Because deep down, it made sense. Too much sense. We can't just sit here, Sana said suddenly. If Adil is there, we have to go back. No, Hamza said immediately. No way. We barely made it out alive last time. Alive, she snapped. Are we sure about that? That question lingered in the air longer than anything else. Ali looked at his wrist. The mark. It hadn't faded. If anything, it had spread slightly, the skin around it darker, colder to the touch. I don't think we have a choice, he said quietly. Hamza stared at him. What are you talking about? Ali looked up. Last night, I didn't just dream. Sana frowned. What do you mean? I woke up, he said. But I couldn't move. And I heard something, right next to me. A chill ran through the room. It was breathing, Ali continued. Slow, heavy, like someone was standing over my bed. Sana covered her mouth. And then, he said, his voice barely above a whisper, I felt a hand on my arm. Hamza leaned forward. Did you see anything? Ali shook his head. No, but I heard her. Her? Sana asked, though she already knew. The nurse, Ali said. The name alone made the air feel colder. What did she say? Hamza asked. Ali swallowed. She said, you left too early. No one spoke after that. Because now it was clear. They weren't just remembering the hospital. The hospital remembered them. That night, they didn't split up. They stayed together in Ali's house, all the lights on, every door locked. But it didn't help. Around 2:17 a.m., the power went out. Not just in the house. In the entire street. The sudden darkness was suffocating. Sana grabbed Ali's arm. Turn your phone flashlight on. Hamza was already doing it, his hands shaking. 3 beams of light cut through the darkness. For a moment, everything seemed normal. Then they heard it. A distant metallic sound. Clang, clang, clang. It was faint, but unmistakable. Where is that coming from? Sana whispered. Ali turned slowly toward the hallway. The sound was coming from inside the house. No, Hamza said under his breath. That's not possible. The front door was locked. The windows were shut. There was no way. Clang. Closer now. Like something hitting metal. Like a hospital trolley being pushed. Down a corridor. The 3 of them stood frozen. Listening. Waiting. Clang. Clang. It stopped. Silence filled the house. Then, a voice. Soft. Familiar. Ali. Sana gasped. That's Adil, Hamza said. The voice came again. We're here. Not just one voice. Many. Layered. Whispering together. Ali's breathing became uneven. This isn't real. This isn't real. But the hallway light flickered on. Just for a second. And in that flash, they saw it. The hallway wasn't their hallway anymore. The walls were different. Peeling paint. Faded green. The floor, tiled. Like the hospital. And at the end of it, a figure. Standing still. Watching them. The light went out again. Sana screamed. Back. Get back. Hamza shouted. They stumbled into the living room, shining their lights toward the hallway. But it was normal again. Just a hallway. Nothing there. Nothing at all. This can't be happening, Sana whispered. Ali didn't respond. Because he was staring at the floor. At something that hadn't been there before. A trail. Wet. Dark. Footprints. Leading from the hallway, Into the room. Hamza's voice shook. Those weren't there before. The footprints stopped right in front of them. As if whatever made them was standing there. Watching. Waiting. Then, slowly, Ali's phone flickered. And in that brief moment of dimming light, they saw it. A reflection. Not in a mirror, but in the black screen of the turned-off TV. Behind them, shapes. Figures. Standing too close. Too still. Sana turned around instantly. There was nothing there. But when she looked back at the screen, they were still there. Closer now. You see them too, right? She whispered. Hamza nodded slowly. Yeah. Ali didn't move. Because one of the figures was stepping forward. Out of the screen. The air grew colder. The smell returned. That same hospital smell. And then, a hand. Cold. Rotten. Closed around Ali's wrist. Right over the mark. He screamed. The world twisted. The room disappeared. And suddenly, they were somewhere else. Again. The hospital. But this time, they hadn't entered it. They had been brought back. The corridor stretched endlessly before them. The lights flickered overhead. And the whispers, louder than ever. Sana fell to her knees. No, 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 Hamza grabbed her arm. Get up. We have to move. Ali looked around wildly. Where's the exit? There is no exit, a voice said. They turned. The nurse stood behind them. Closer than ever before. Her smile wider. More unnatural. You didn't think you could leave, she said softly, did you? Hamza stepped in front of the others. What do you want from us? The nurse tilted her head. Nothing, she said. Then why? You already gave it, she interrupted. Ali's heart dropped. Gave what? She raised her hand. And pointed. At his wrist. At the mark. You were chosen the moment you stepped inside, she said. You just didn't realize it yet. Sana shook her head desperately. Let us go. Please. We won't come back. The nurse's expression didn't change. You say that, she replied gently. But everyone says that. She stepped closer. And no one ever means it. Behind her, the patients began to emerge from the rooms. Slowly. Silently. Surrounding them. Hamza tightened his fists. There has to be a way out. The nurse smiled again. There is, she said. Hope flickered. Just for a second. Stay, she finished. And in that moment, they understood. This wasn't a place you escaped. It was a place that kept you. Forever. For a moment, none of them moved. The word, stay, seemed to echo through the corridor, stretching, bending, sinking into the walls themselves. Sana shook her head violently. No, no, we're not staying here. The nurse watched her calmly, almost curiously. You say that as if you still have a choice. We do, Hamza snapped, though his voice wavered. We're leaving. Ali grabbed his wrist, staring at the mark. It was darker now, no longer just a bruise. It looked deeper, like something under his skin was spreading, branching out in thin, shadowy lines. It's getting worse, he whispered. The nurse's eyes flickered down to it. It's almost complete. Sana's breath hitched. Complete. What does that mean? Instead of answering, the nurse stepped aside and revealed the room behind her. The same room. The one they had seen before. The patient's room. But this time, there was no illusion of normalcy. The beds weren't clean anymore. They were stained. Dark. Old. Some of them looked as though they had been soaked in something that had dried long ago. And the patients, they were worse. Their bodies were twisted, unnatural. Some had sunken chests, some had limbs bent at impossible angles, some looked almost fused with the beds themselves. But their eyes were still alive. Watching. Waiting. Adil is inside, the nurse said softly. Sana immediately tried to run toward the room, but Hamza grabbed her. Wait. This could be a trick. He's in there, she cried. I saw him. Ali stepped forward slowly. If he's really there, we can't leave him. The nurse smiled faintly. Of course you can't. That smile again. Like she already knew what they would do. Like they were following a script. Hamza clenched his jaw. We go in together. We don't split up. No matter what happens. They all nodded. Then, slowly, they stepped into the room. The temperature dropped instantly. The whispers returned, but now they weren't distant. They were right next to their ears. Fragments of voices. Help me. Don't go. It hurts. Sana covered her ears. Make it stop. Ali scanned the beds desperately. Where is he? Then, there. Hamza pointed. At the far end of the room. Adil. Lying on a bed. Just like in the dream. His eyes were open. His lips moving slightly. They rushed toward him. Adil. Sana cried, grabbing his hand. We're here. His skin was ice cold. But he moved. Just slightly. His eyes shifted toward her. And for a second, there was recognition. Sana, he whispered. Tears streamed down her face. We're taking you out of here, okay? Just hold on. Don't, he said suddenly. They froze. Don't take me, Adil whispered. Ali frowned. What are you talking about? We're getting you out. You can't leave, Adil said, his voice trembling. None of us can. Hamza shook his head. That's not true. We got out before. Adil's eyes widened slightly. No, he said. You didn't. A silence fell over them. What do you mean? Sana asked. Adil tried to sit up, struggling. You think you left, but you never really did. Ali stepped back slightly. That doesn't make sense. This place, Adil continued, his voice weak, it doesn't let you go. It follows you. It waits, until you come back. Hamza's grip tightened. So this was always going to happen? Adil nodded faintly. Yes. Sana shook her head, crying harder. No, there has to be a way to break it. Adil looked at her, and for the first time, there was fear in his eyes. There is, he said. Hope flickered again. How? Ali asked quickly. Adil swallowed. One of you has to take my place. The words hit them like a shockwave. What? Hamza said immediately. No, absolutely not. It's the only way, Adil whispered. This place, it needs something. Someone. It doesn't let go unless it gets what it wants. Sana backed away. No, we're not doing that. We're finding another way. There isn't one, Adil said. The whispers grew louder. The patients began to shift again, slowly turning their heads toward them. Listening. Waiting. Ali looked at Adil. If one of us stays, the rest can leave. Adil nodded weakly. Yes. Hamza grabbed Ali's arm. Don't even think about it. Ali didn't respond. He was staring at his wrist again. The mark had spread further. It was almost covering his entire hand now. They already chose me, he said quietly. No, Sana said immediately. No, we're not sacrificing anyone. It's not a sacrifice, Ali replied. It's already happening. Hamza shook his head. We can fight this. There has to be another way. The nurse's voice came from behind them. No, she said calmly. There isn't. They turned. She was standing at the entrance of the room, watching. This place requires balance, she continued. One leaves. One stays. Sana glared at her. You're lying. The nurse smiled faintly. Am I? Ali looked back at Adil. At his pale face. At the fear in his eyes. And then at Sana and Hamza. If I stay, he said, you two can leave. For real this time. No, Hamza said again, more firmly. We're not leaving you. Ali let out a small, sad laugh. You don't get it, do you? I'm already part of this place. Sana grabbed his arm. We'll figure something out together. Ali gently pulled away. No, he said. If we stay, we all end up like this. The whispers grew louder. The patients began to move closer. Time was running out. Ali took a deep breath. Then stepped back. Toward an empty bed. No, Sana screamed, trying to grab him. But something held her back. Invisible. Unmoving. The nurse watched silently. Ali lay down on the bed. The moment his back touched it, the mark on his arm spread instantly, covering his entire body in dark, vein-like shadows. He gasped. His eyes widened. Then, he went still. The room fell silent. The whispers stopped. And Adil took a deep breath. Color slowly returned to his face. He sat up. Alive. No, Sana whispered. Hamza stared in shock. It worked. Adil looked at his hands, trembling. I can feel my heartbeat. Sana rushed to him, hugging him tightly. You're okay, but Hamza wasn't looking at Adil. He was looking at Ali. Lying motionless on the bed. His eyes slowly opened, and when he looked at them, they weren't the same. Empty, cold, belonging to something else. The nurse stepped forward, and gently adjusted the sheet over him. Welcome, she said softly. The room began to fade. The walls dissolving, the floor disappearing beneath them. And suddenly, they were outside. Back on the road, just like before. Sana fell to her knees, crying. Adil stood beside her, shaking. Hamza looked back at the hospital. It stood silent, dark, still. But now, he knew the truth. It was never empty, and it never would be. Because inside, on one of those beds, Ali lay awake. Unable to move, unable to scream, listening to the whispers, waiting for the next visitors. Hoping they wouldn't leave him there. But knowing they always would. For a long time, none of them spoke. The road stretched out in front of them, empty and silent, as if nothing had happened. The night air felt normal again, too normal. No whispers, No shadows. No signs of the place they had just escaped. But something was wrong. Because this time, they knew exactly what they had left behind. Sana's sobs were the only sound breaking the silence. She hadn't let go of Adil since they reappeared, as if he might vanish again if she did. You're really here, she kept whispering. You're really here, Adil nodded slowly, but his eyes weren't focused on her. They were fixed on the hospital. I can feel it, he said. Hamza turned to him. Feel what? Adil swallowed. It's still there. Inside my head. Like a memory that isn't fading. Hamza clenched his fists. We need to leave. Now. This time, no one argued. They didn't walk. They ran. They didn't stop until the hospital was far behind them, until the road turned into familiar streets, until the world looked like something they recognized again. But even then, none of it felt real. Days passed. Then a week. Then two. Life continued. Or at least, it pretended to. Adil returned home. His family cried, relieved, overwhelmed, asking questions he couldn't answer. Where had he been? What had happened? Why did he look so different? He told them he didn't remember much. That he had been lost. That he was confused. They believed him. Because the truth was something no one would accept. Sana tried to go back to normal. She went out with friends, smiled when she had to, avoided silence whenever possible. Because in silence, she heard them. The whispers. Faint. Distant. But always there. Calling. Hamza buried himself in distractions. Work. Games. Noise. Anything to keep his mind occupied. But sometimes, late at night, when everything went quiet, he would hear the sound. Clang. 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 And he would freeze. Because he knew exactly what it was. The trolley. Moving through a corridor that should no longer exist. And Ali. Ali was never mentioned. Not by them. Not out loud. It was like an unspoken rule. If they didn't say his name, maybe it wouldn't feel real. But it was real. Too real. Because it didn't take long for the signs to return. It started with Adil. One morning, he woke up with something on his arm. A mark. Faint. Barely visible. But unmistakable. Finger-shaped. In the exact same place Ali's had been. He stared at it for a long time. Hoping it would fade. It didn't. That night, he had the dream again. The hospital. The corridor. The room. And Ali. Sitting on the bed. Looking at him. Not empty this time. Aware. Aware of everything. You shouldn't have come back, Ali said. Adil's voice shook. I didn't have a choice. Ali tilted his head slightly. You always have a choice. Then why didn't you leave? Adil asked. Silence. For a moment, Ali's expression changed. Something like pain. Something human. I did, he said quietly. Adil frowned. What do you mean? Ali didn't answer. Instead, he looked past him. At something behind. And his face changed again. Back to that emptiness. You need to wake up, he said. Before Adil could respond, something grabbed him. Pulled him backward. And he woke up. Gasping. Sweat covering his body. The mark on his arm, darker. Spreading. No, he whispered. Across town, at that exact same moment, Sana woke up too. Her heart racing. Her room felt colder than it should have been. And her closet door was slightly open. She was sure she had closed it before sleeping. Slowly, carefully, she sat up. Staring at the gap. Darkness inside. Too dark. Like it went deeper than it should. She reached for her phone. Turned on the flashlight. And pointed it toward the closet. For a second, nothing. Just clothes. Shadows. Normal. Then, a shape. Standing behind the hanging clothes. Still. Watching. Sana screamed and threw the phone. The light spun wildly across the room. And when it settled, the closet was empty. But the door was now fully open. At the same time, Hamza sat up in his bed. Because he heard it again. Closer this time. Right outside his room. Clang. 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 He held his breath. Listening. The sound stopped. Then, a knock. Slow. Deliberate. On his door. His voice barely worked. Who is it? Silence. Then, a voice. Soft. Familiar. Hamza. His blood ran cold. Because he recognized it. Ali. I know you're awake, the voice said. Hamza didn't move. Didn't breathe. Open the door. The handle moved slightly. Just a little. Like something on the other side was testing it. You left me, Ali's voice whispered. Hamza squeezed his eyes shut. This isn't real. It is, the voice replied. The handle turned. Slowly. But the door didn't open. Because Hamza had locked it. There was a pause. Then, a soft laugh. Not Ali's. Something else. Something deeper. He'll understand soon, another voice said. The nurse. Hamza's eyes snapped open. No, he whispered. We're not done yet, she continued. The footsteps retreated. The sound of the trolley faded. Clang, 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 until there was nothing. The next morning, all three of them met again. No hesitation this time. No denial. They sat in silence. Until Adil finally spoke. It's happening again. Sana nodded slowly. I know. Hamza looked between them. It didn't end when we left. No, Adil said. He rolled up his sleeve. Showed them the mark. Now darker. Spreading. Sana stepped back. It's choosing again. Hamza shook his head. Or maybe, it never stopped choosing. A long silence followed. Then Sana asked the question none of them wanted to say out loud. Who's next? No one answered. Because deep down, they already knew. The hospital didn't just take people. It passed them on, one by one, again, and again, and again, and somewhere, far away, yet impossibly close, in a room that should not exist, Ali sat on his bed. Listening, waiting, and for the first time, smiling. Because now, he wasn't alone anymore. That smile didn't belong to him. Somewhere deep inside, buried under the silence and the stillness, something of Ali was still there, watching, screaming, resisting. But whatever this place was, it was stronger. Back in the real world, the three of them sat facing each other, the weight of everything pressing down harder than before. No more running, Hamza said finally. We tried that. It didn't work. Sana looked at Adil's arm again. The mark had spread past his wrist now, faint dark veins crawling upward. It's happening faster this time, she whispered. Adil nodded. Because I was already there. That made sense. And somehow, made it worse. Hamza leaned forward. Then we stop it before it finishes. How? Sana asked. We barely survived last time. Adil hesitated. Then said something that made both of them go still. We don't survive this time. Silence. What? Hamza said flatly. Adil looked up, his expression serious. Think about it. Every time someone tries to leave, the hospital takes someone else. It's like a cycle. Sana shook her head. No, don't say that. But what if we break the cycle? Adil continued. What if no one leaves? Hamza frowned. That doesn't make sense. It does, Adil said. If the hospital needs balance, one stays, one goes, then what happens if no one goes? Sana's breathing slowed. You mean, we all stay? Adil nodded. Hamza stood up immediately. No, absolutely not. That's suicide. Or it's the only way to end it, Adil replied. Hamza ran a hand through his hair. You're guessing. We don't even know what this place really is. We know enough, Adil said quietly. We know it feeds on people. We know it keeps pulling us back. And we know it doesn't stop. Sana looked between them, torn. If we do nothing, she said slowly, it'll just keep taking us, one by one. Adil nodded. Hamza stopped pacing. Because he knew they were right. And that was the worst part. So what? He said finally. We just walk back in there and let it take us. Adil shook his head. Not exactly. They both looked at him. We go back, he said. But this time, we don't play by its rules. Sana frowned. What does that mean? Adil took a breath. When it tries to separate us, we stay together. When it offers a way out, we don't take it. And no matter what happens, he looked at both of them. We don't let it choose. The words settled heavily. Hamza let out a slow breath. And if it forces us? Adil's voice dropped. Then we make our own ending. That night, they went back. No hesitation this time. No jokes. No fear they tried to hide. Just purpose. The hospital stood exactly the same. Waiting. Watching. As if it had always known they would return. The gate creaked open on its own as they approached. Sana flinched. It knows we're here, she whispered. Adil nodded. Good. They stepped inside. The air felt colder than before. Heavier. The moment they crossed the entrance, the whispers began. Louder than ever. But they didn't stop. They walked forward. Together. The corridor stretched ahead, lights flickering, walls shifting slightly, like something alive beneath them. Then, the voice. Welcome back. The nurse. Standing at the end of the hallway. Smiling. I knew you would return, she said. Hamza stepped forward slightly. We're not here to stay. The nurse tilted her head. Aren't you? Adil spoke next. We're here to end this. For the first time, her smile faded. Just slightly. You don't understand, she said softly. No, Adil replied. We do. They kept walking. Straight toward her. The whispers grew frantic. The walls seemed to close in. Doors slammed shut around them. But they didn't stop. Turn back, the nurse said. No one listened. Her expression changed. The calmness slipping. Replaced by something else. Something sharper. You don't belong here anymore, she snapped. Adil stopped right in front of her. No, he said. We all belong here. The words seemed to echo unnaturally. The hospital reacted. The lights burst. Darkness swallowed the corridor. Then, they were inside the room again. The patients. The beds. Ali. Sitting upright now. Watching them. You came back, he said. His voice sounded clearer. More like himself. But not completely. Sana stepped forward, tears in her eyes. We're not leaving you. Ali's expression flickered. Pain. Hope. Fear. Don't do this, he said. You don't know what it does to you. We do, Hamza replied. That's why we're here. The nurse appeared behind them. No, she said. This isn't how it works. Adil turned to face her. We're changing how it works. The patients began to move again. Faster this time. Agitated. The room trembling. You need a replacement, Adil said. That's your rule, right? The nurse didn't respond. So here it is, he continued. He stepped forward. Then Sana stepped beside him. Then Hamza. All three. Together. No one leaves, Adil said. No one replaces anyone, Sana added. We end it here, Hamza finished. The room shook violently. The whispers turned into screams. The nurse's face twisted. You can't do that, she shouted. That breaks the balance. Exactly, Adil said. For the first time, fear appeared in her eyes. Real fear. The walls began to crack. The lights flickered wildly. The patients screamed, their forms distorting, unraveling. Ali fell off the bed, gasping. What's happening? He choked. Sana rushed to him, helping him up. It's breaking, she said. The nurse lunged forward. Stop. But it was too late. The mark on Adil's arm burned. Then spread, but instead of consuming him, it shattered. Like glass. Dark fragments falling away into nothing. Sana and Hamza cried out as their own marks did the same. The room began collapsing. Not physically, but something deeper. Like the place itself was losing its hold. Ali's eyes widened. I can feel it. It's letting go, the nurse screamed. A sound that didn't belong to anything human. You need to leave, she shouted desperately. But they didn't move. Adil shook his head. No. The hospital trembled. The walls peeled away into darkness. The patients vanished one by one. The whispers faded. And the nurse, she staggered back. Her form flickering. Breaking. This isn't possible, she whispered. Adil looked at her. It is now. Everything went white. For a moment, there was nothing. No sound. No feeling. No time. Then, air rushed back into their lungs. Light filled their vision. And suddenly, they were outside. On the road. The hospital. Gone. Not abandoned. Not broken. Gone. Like it had never existed. The space it once occupied now empty. Silent. Still. Sana looked around, trembling. Is it over? Hamza turned slowly. For the first time, there was no weight. No whispers. No fear lingering in the air. I think it is, he said. Adil looked at his arm. The mark. Gone. Completely. He let out a breath he didn't realize he'd been holding. Ali stood beside them. Alive. Really alive. He looked at the empty space where the hospital once stood. Then at his friends. And for the first time since all of this began, he smiled. A real smile. We made it, he said. And this time, there was nothing waiting for them. No shadows. No voices. No one calling them back. Just silence. Peaceful. Final. As if whatever had been there, was finally, finished. For a while, they believed it. They had to. Because the alternative was something none of them could face again. Days passed, then weeks. Life began to stitch itself back together in small, careful pieces. The nightmares stopped. The whispers didn't return. The air no longer felt heavy, no matter where they went. The place where the hospital once stood remained empty. No construction, no ruins, no signs that anything had ever been there. People passed by it every day without a second glance, as if it had always just been an open stretch of land. And slowly, the fear faded. Sana started laughing again. Hamza stopped checking over his shoulder every few minutes. Adil slept through the night without waking up drenched in sweat. And Ali tried the hardest. He told himself he was fine. That whatever had taken him, whatever had held him there, was gone. But sometimes, when he was alone, he would feel it. Not a voice, not a whisper, just a space inside him, like something had been removed. Or maybe, left behind. It happened one evening. Nothing unusual. They were all together again, sitting on the rooftop of Allie's house, watching the city lights flicker in the distance. It was quiet, peaceful, the kind of silence that once would have terrified them. Now, it felt earned. I still can't believe it's over, Sana said softly. Hamza nodded. Feels like a dream. Adil looked out at the horizon. Or a nightmare we woke up from. Ali didn't respond. Sana glanced at him. You okay? He blinked, snapping out of whatever thought he was lost in. Yeah, just thinking. About what? He hesitated, then forced a small smile. Nothing important, but it was. That feeling, that empty space. It was there again, stronger this time, like something shifting. He rubbed his arm absent-mindedly. The same place where the mark had been. Even though there was nothing there now, his skin felt cold. Sana noticed. Does it still hurt? Ali shook his head quickly. No, it's gone. Adil studied him for a moment but didn't say anything. Because he understood something the others didn't. You don't walk out of a place like that unchanged. You just learn how to live with what followed you out. The night grew deeper. One by one, the city lights began to dim. A quiet wind passed over them. And for a brief moment, Ali heard something. So faint, he almost ignored it. A sound. Metal. Distant. Clang. His head snapped up. What? Hamza asked. Ali looked around. The rooftop. The street below. Everything normal. Everything still. Nothing, he said slowly. But his heartbeat had already started to rise. Clang. Again. Slightly louder. Not outside. Not in the city. Inside his head. No, he whispered. Adil turned sharply. You heard it too. Ali froze. You heard it? He asked. Adil nodded slowly. Sana and Hamza looked between them, confused. Heard what? Neither of them answered. Because now, it wasn't just a sound. It was a feeling. A pressure. Like something was pushing against reality itself. The air grew colder. Subtly. Almost unnoticeable. But enough. Enough for them to feel it. Hamza stood up. Okay. This isn't funny. Sana's voice shook slightly. What's happening? Adil didn't respond. He was staring at the empty land in the distance. Where the hospital used to be. His eyes narrowed. Look, he said quietly. They all turned. At first, nothing. Just darkness. Then, a flicker. So quick it could have been imagined. A faint light. Gone in an instant. No, Sana whispered. Another flicker. Longer this time. Like a light turning on, then off. Hamza took a step back. That's not possible. A third flicker. And this time, they all saw it. For a split second, the outline. The shape of the hospital, standing exactly where it had been before. Then, gone again. Ali's chest tightened. That's not real, he said. But his voice lacked conviction. Clang. Louder now. Not just in his head. In the air. Sana grabbed Adil's arm. Tell me this is over. Adil didn't answer. Because deep down, he already knew. They hadn't destroyed it. They had only interrupted it. The balance they broke had consequences. And something like that didn't just disappear. It adapted. Another flicker. This time, longer. The hospital appeared again. More solid. More real. And in one of the windows, a figure. Standing still. Watching them. Even from that distance, they recognized it. The nurse. But she wasn't smiling anymore. She was staring. Cold. Focused. Waiting. The light vanished again. Darkness returned. Silence followed. A long, heavy silence. Then, Ali felt it. A sharp pain in his arm. He gasped. Clutched it. No. Sana panicked. What is it? He slowly pulled up his sleeve. And this time, they all saw it. The mark. Back again. But different. Darker. Deeper. And spreading faster than before. Hamza whispered, it's not over. Adil shook his head slowly. No, he said. It's just begun again. Far away, in a place that should not exist, something flickered back to life. Not whole. Not yet. But enough. Enough to wait. Enough to watch. Enough to choose again. And this time, it wouldn't make the same mistake. Because now it knew them. And it wouldn't let them break it twice.